Kara, go ahead and
hear it. And
I'm gonna turn my phone off.
I can hear myself speaking.
Present.
So that phone.
Oh, I did.
Oh,
Did you go in there and do a quick guilty plea?
I want to, I'm almost positive I did. Let me make sure.
Yeah, they're seating 6 jury members today.
Okay. That makes it a misdemeanor.
By the way, Lynn Legree got Shanghai going in there, so they got Bob out there today.
He was one of the 20.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised. You know, his mom died.
Yeah, I heard. It was some-
County Board of County Commissioners meeting will come to order. Let the record show today is October the 7th, 2020. The time is 9:00 a.m. I wonder if I can impose upon Mr. Vernon to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would, sir.
And justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
That came from on.
And Deputy Clerk to the Board, would you conduct the roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Flowers,
Present.
Commissioner Prince,
President?
Commissioner Panda,
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith,
Present.
Deputy Clerk to the Board and Admin Assistant Karen Evans, present, and IT Director Vernon Rowe.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. We'll bypass audience introductions, amendments to the agenda, gentlemen.
None from me. I have none, sir.
And nor do I, so we'll move on. I don't believe we have any minutes to approve today. Commissioner items, Commissioner Kanda.
Just real quick, two things. We had a meeting on the CARES money distribution approval programs. Thought it went pretty well. I'm sorry it was got so convoluted with the school request. I hope he works that up and we'll see it again. Additionally, Sangre to Crystal Electric started digging the trench out there for power. Bubba called me this morning and said for some reason they hit an infiltrator. So there's a septic field in the way. So we're not sure which it is. I just asked Jackie to find what the airport's septic field is, and I'm betting it is because it probably came out that door and went under where the fuel tank is and over to the other side. So we'll see. So that we're going to have to work around. So I'll be out there to meet with them at 3:30, and I asked 4, so I'll get a couple. I asked Brian if he could be there, and Bob will be there. I got mentioned it, and I think he knows Jim. And we'll work through what we got to do there. And then the AWAS program is still on track to start setting the pedestal and the electric with the company there. So we'll see where they're working the budget out and see where we are. We've got plenty of money for it. To see what the schedule tells us. They're going to try to get it done within 2 weeks after they start. And that's all I've got for now.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Prince.
I really don't have a lot to report. I went to the CARES Act committee yesterday, of course, with both of you, and that's really all I've done.
Okay, I don't have anything to report either. Strategic plan, anything
Nothing.
yesterday? CVRF relief fund. I guess I would just report that we did have a working total of grant or reimbursement dollars paid out so far of $119,000. that we have submitted a reimbursement request to DOLA for that. We have not heard back yet, so. Our next meeting will be next Monday
In this room.
because of the budget hearing starting on Tuesday, so we'll meet in here at 1 p.m. That's all I have, gentlemen. Anything else?
No, sir.
Attorney items?
Am I gonna be picked up by talking here?
Yes.
All right. Well, as usual, I worked with Jackie Hobby in planning and zoning, and a number of things, wrote some letters for. There's one that I sent a notice of that I'm gonna be filing a lawsuit. Tried, this is without naming names or anything, the individual thinks his own system of disposing of human waste is better than what the state requires, and he hasn't done anything, so I'm gonna need to get a lawsuit filed on that. And this sort of, it really falls under Board of Health more so, but as the county attorney for both, I did accompany Jackie Hobby yesterday out in the field to do an inspection on a particular site that's connected with an ongoing investigation. So that's basically what I've been doing since our last meeting.
If, depending on the relevance, but if the Board of Health or the Board of County Commissioners wanted an update on an investigation, would that have to be done in an executive session?
Yeah, it's on the agenda for next Wednesday, where Jackie was going to give a full report on the status. But the investigation is still ongoing, and it may not be in a position where we should disclose information, in which case we could go into an executive session to talk about that if you want. But we'll see. I mean, right now there's some other agencies that are involved, and we may or may not be in a position where we could disclose it all publicly.
We could do it at the 20th at the Board of Health meeting if we wanted to.
Yeah, that would be the place to do it.
So we'll hear Jackie at the commissioners meeting before then. Is that her plan?
Well,
Or should
The,
we be doing that at the Board of
there's
Health?
two issues. One would relate to the special use permit
All right,
violation, and that would be in front of the commissioners.
okay.
And we may be in a position to talk about that by now.
But if we're not, the appropriate place to do it would be in an executive session.
Executive session, yes.
yes, sir. What's wrong?
I'm not on, and I don't know what I did. It's me, not you, but I don't know what I did.
Anything else, sir, on attorney items?
No,
Okay. I should have mentioned in commissioner items, we do have an executive session for the Board of County Commissioners today, towards the end of this meeting, before the conclusion of this meeting. So,
It wasn't posted. Was it supposed to be?
no.
Thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Administrative assistant item,
I'm good, thank you.
welcome back.
Thank you.
We're a little ahead of schedule is, we'll go to public comment, I'm sorry. If there's any public comment, come before the commissioners on anything not on a posted agenda item, now would be an appropriate time.
This is Joni Liebman. And I had been led to believe that there was going to be a time for me to share information about recycling paper, metal, and glass. Is that not being discussed at this meeting?
It's the second item under new business today.
Oh,
Sorry, the first item under new business.
thank you.
This one right here.
Sorry, I pushed the wrong one.
There you go.
There is a bad buzz for those of us that are listening.
Okay, we will work on that. Thank you. You sounded very clear, as far as an incoming voice.
Ask
So
her if she mutes it, it might go away.
do you want to try muting your phone and see if that takes care of the problem?
It might be too loud here. It sounds like we're going to saturation.
No, that makes no difference.
She didn't mute.
Just know that we'll work on it. Thank you, though. Appreciate the update.
Thank you.
So first item of business under new business, Jody, we need to get to that. So, okay, any other public comment?
It's us. Please go ahead. I'm working on it.
Okay, I'm waiting to see if there's any public comment.
No one else is unmuting, sir.
Hearing none, we'll move on. Staff reports. Airport is up first. I don't know if she's still out there.
Morning, boys. Men.
Boys. Morning, Mr. Gully, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Thank you. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Bob, how we doing?
You're welcome to sit
Grab a
wherever you're
chair.
comfortable. If you want to drag a chair around, Bob, whatever you want to do.
Someone unmuted themselves.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
I don't mean to be a pain.
So, Mr. Jolly, the floor is yours, sir. Thank you for coming in today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm wondering why I'm here myself.
Understand well, Bob, because your buddy's sitting next door, right?
Yeah. All right. Anyway, in September, we sold just about 700 gallons of fuel, and we've sold about 100 gallons so far this month. And we got about 1,300 gallons in the tank right now. And we'll be getting a fuel delivery today.
Oh, wow. Do you know how many gallons?
2,000.
2,000.
The price was right, and we were able to split it with Pueblo.
Good. And the retail price for fuel at the airport?
Right now, it's $3.99. And the average in the area within 50 miles is $3.92.
Wow.
And the wholesale price right now is $3.04. So we may be able to lower ours a little. Yeah. The county is out there again this morning working on the taxi lanes. Looks like they'll finish up today. And I talked to the boss out there and let him know Gary, and let him know what a good job they were doing and how much we appreciated it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Owl Avenue's hangar is in progress. They're putting in the foundation right now. There was a whole herd of them out there this morning. So,
Yeah.
and Bob's tea hangers are just about complete. Doors are up, the walls are in, and installation's blown in, and they're working out real well.
And may I interject a question, Mr. Bob, real quick? You indicated at the last airport board meeting that project was really your daughter and son-in-law's project?
Well, no, this particular one that's underway is Dan Green and the other owners.
Okay.
I'm just the project manager.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
And we've already got people talking to Bob about the next 5.
Good Lord.
So,
Perfect.
yeah,
There's a run on them in there.
yes, there is. Yeah, we got a lot of people interested in building hangars right
Will
now.
those T hangers have electricity?
Excuse me?
Will the T hangers have electricity?
Just enough battery juice to operate the doors. If they want electric, they can come in later and,
Okay.
you know,
That's up to the owner to
take their own
get
unit.
contract with the owner.
Initially, you're not plowing electric to the
No.
T hangers. Okay.
And I guess you already talked about the electric for the AWAS system. And the civil site work is scheduled to begin on the 19th of this month.
By that, civil site work, meaning for the AWAS.
Yeah, the tower and stuff like that.
Yeah, Sandy Group, the Chris goes out there yesterday swapping a transformer.
And I mentioned it, I don't think you knew, Bubba called me before the meeting, and said they hit the infiltrators on the septic system. We think it's probably for the our restroom. So I'm gonna go out there at 3:30 and meeting. And we'll see. And I asked Jackie to find out where the map is for what they did put in. It's an infiltrator, so it's not an abandoned one, so it's probably the one that goes to the air.
Okay.
I would assume.
You don't have a sense of where that is?
No,
Because we found the one septic tank west of the south hangar, southernmost hangar.
yes,
At the time, we thought that was the one that came from the base
OMS.
of operations, correct?
Probably the line goes down there and the infiltrator field probably goes back to the south, and that's where they were digging, so.
Oh, you mean the vent line?
No, the infiltrators are the leach field,
Oh, okay.
which could be,
Yeah, they can be
60
anywhere.
infiltrators out there.
So do you know where they were digging? I'm a little confused about that.
Off the corner of the hangar going south and a little bit west, so.
Of,
Of
can't
where,
think of his name. Who owns that southernmost hangar?
Randy,
Well, thank you, Randy,
Randy.
off of Randy's hangar.
Yeah.
Oh, I was envisioning them digging over off the south corner of the air park's hangar. Not the case.
that's not, you know where they started yesterday, right?
Yes,
Want to draw in the picture?
So, but it's over by Randy's hangar is where they're digging, Sangre?
they're at the very south end of the parking area.
You know, the ramp itself. And so we're really confused about it because it could have been another house, but there hadn't been a house near that airport for years, ever.
It could be that hangar that's sitting there in the corner.
If it is, I don't know why they did it because there's never a bathroom in there. So maybe it isn't abandoned, but that Jackie's sorting it out. So we'll see.
Yeah, wow. Huh. So Sangre's coming off of a transformer near Randy's hangar? Oh, I
Yeah.
thought they were coming off of the hangar south of the airport.
okay, yeah, so the airport, I thought you were talking about the septic. The hangar where the transformer is actually, it used to be Ray Pedro's.
Right,
The old hangar, the original hangar. that was out there.
That's the one, they put it right on the corner.
right. There's a transformer sitting there,
Right.
but that's not where they're digging.
Yeah, it is. They're coming right off of that. to
Oh, I thought you said they're
where our
coming off
pedestal.
Randy's hangar.
No. Mine
Well,
was,
Randy Kemp's.
Kim,
No,
well, you mentioned Randy, but that's the other one.
yeah, that's,
I don't know who Pedro sold it to somebody.
yeah.
That's why I just called it
Whoever-
airport hangar.
yeah.
I have no idea. who
it's
owns it.
just south
So
of
that
there.
makes sense then to
Yeah.
me, yeah.
Yeah,
And they dug from there to the, the fence that opens up for the airport.
Yeah.
Where we started our
And
trip.
they, God, that is absolutely a mystery why they're.
Yeah, it's a
I
ghost.
have no idea why there would be one there.
Did Brian Barry indicate, did it look like it was an active infiltrator?
No, that's why I'm in a
system?
meeting there. He hadn't seen it.
Oh.
We're both going out there. The lineman hit it.
Huh,
Whoever was
yeah, that's,
digging
At 3:30 today?
yesterday.
No, I mean, today you're gonna meet him
I'm
out
gonna be
there?
at 3:30. I'm gonna tell you so you can meet us there.
Yeah, I'd
And I
like to
asked
be there.
Ryan if he could be there too. Anderson, he's may or may not. He's hauling hay. He said.
Yeah,
huh, boy, that's like. an infiltrator.
I don't have any idea why there would be a leach field out there.
They could have put one in, assuming they were gonna put. a
Probably
bathroom
what
in there,
happened.
but
Yeah.
That's when
You know
Alan,
for a fact, there's not a bathroom in that.
there's nothing.
There is nothing
He used to
in there.
park in there. Alan Butler parked there for years and he may have put it in on the bet that he was gonna stay in there.
So do you think they're gonna hold off then, or they're gonna keep digging?
No, they're gonna wait till we meet and then they'll.
But I mean, after you guys.
Yes, they'll keep digging. That's where they're gonna go. They gotta do it. It's. And we'll decide whether they take a jog around it or whether, if it's not real, just blast through.
Wow.
Anyway, some other things going on out there is the sign out by the highway, or the airport road and the highway.
The airport sign.
The airport sign. Yeah, we're in the process of repainting that and repairing it, getting it looking nice.
You're gonna paint the airplane.
We're gonna polish the TS-11 that's sitting out there too.
Put some wheels on it.
We're just looking for a 3,000-foot extension cord to run out there. So
I got one.
if anybody's got one, we'd appreciate it. And of course, the electric box, the box is sitting there and the pedestal is leaning up against the fence. And I was assuming they were in the
They were gonna
process.
blow through that. and be
Yeah.
done yesterday.
So anyway, that's about what's happening at the airport.
Yeah, good. What's the plan for finishing the last pad on the west run of hangars on the north end? County had moved a bunch of material in there. Have they compacted that? Or is it still kind of just piled in there?
It's still sort of just plowed in there. We did have a guy looking to build a hangar, and he was talking either about the new T hangars that are going up, or I did show him those three down at the end. So,
So there's 3 spaces in there
Yes.
on the north end,
yeah, 350 by 50.
on the west side.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Dean. He's gonna be in town next week and probably make a move.
That'll be prime because they've been looking at it.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll.
Courtesy cars, any use of those?
Yes, they're being used quite a bit. Being used a lot.
And we're keeping a log of those.
We're keeping, when they fill out their paperwork, some do's and don'ts, they can and can't. We're filing all those, and we got a file on them, so we know.
Would it be reasonable to ask for that usage to be recorded in the monthly staff report from the airport so we have a sense of that or not?
He can do that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It would have been a week ago.
I probably need to make a statement about the fact that you're here as a guest of the airport, right?
That
You're
is,
no longer the airport manager.
I am no longer the
So
airport
that being
manager.
said, we should indicate to the public that happens to be watching that Mr. McDonald is the new
Airport manager.
airport manager. Thank you for your service out there to the airport. We appreciate that very much.
And I came today at the request of the chairman of the board and our new airport manager, just to let him know what we do and
Transitional period.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't tell him you bring donuts.
Normally,
Yeah,
he didn't do what he normally does, which is bring donuts. So I don't know if that's an absolute requirement. Certainly would be an expectation. wouldn't it?
It's a requirement, isn't it?
No complaints if someone brought him in.
I doubt it. I doubt it, yeah. Well, again, Bob, I want to publicly say, Jolly, thank you for the number of years. I know what it is, not coming to me, but certainly is a
9
large
years.
number.
9 years.
Volunteer work,
Yep, 9 big ones.
and not just as airport manager, but you filled a lot of other roles out there. We appreciate that, and certainly recognition is due and appropriate. So
Well, thank you.
thank you for your time, and thanks for coming in front of the commissioners since I've been seated anyway. And,
Well, you'll probably see me here again from time to time. So
yeah, I suppose the next time you'll be wanting money or something, but
That will be next time.
all right, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
mail.
Do you know who's presenting his,
Sorry about that.
presenting the budget next week?
So I need a.
JC,
We have to have.
JC, yeah, the treasurer's going to be ramrodding that.
All right, thank you. Bob, thanks for
I just,
coming in.
yeah, no problem.
No problem.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
you next month.
Well, good
Yeah,
to see you.
look forward to it.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll be here observing him.
I was gonna say, if,
Later, later.
you know, you're welcome. I
See you out
mean,
there,
if
3:30.
JC would like someone else to come. in,
Oh, yeah.
too. We don't have a requirement on the number of people.
Yeah, the airport will be here in mass.
Oh.
We're gonna have plenty of
Well,
defenders.
so that being said, maybe we ought to talk about that real quick. Budget hearings, presenters, probably we're gonna allow the presenter to come in everybody else would be welcome.
Unless there's room,
I
to
think
be
so.
safe. I think
Yeah.
it's okay to bring them in. They need help.
We're gonna be here to support him.
Right.
And if any
Right.
questions
Sure.
come up that
Right.
he doesn't know the answer to,
Right,
one of us will.
Sure.
okay, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, currently, that's all we're allowing in here is somebody that is presenting to the board. So, but you'd be more than welcome to
Yeah.
hang out in the hallway. And if we need some additional information, don't you think that's reasonable?
Thanks.
We haven't talked about that, about the budget hearing, but-
We need to talk about it.
How I feel.
so,
If you go in the budget hearing, oh, there's room for one other person.
That's just my opinion.
right, I think
Nobody's gonna sit there.
my opinion would be the presenter can come in if they have other people let them wait in the hall, just like,
I'll go with it.
um,
Speaking of nice people, I think one just snuck in.
oh my gosh, you're killing me with all this.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Ah, yeah.
Next staff report is Human Resource and Finance Director. How are you this morning?
Good job. How about you?
Good.
Good. Rocking and rolling today. Yep. Oh, looks like you brought something.
I did, but I'm gonna save the best for
Save the
last.
best
You
for
know,
last.
the
That's
five
exactly right.
truths, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need this sign for the
Okay.
handwritten,
So
and that was the question I had.
can we do, obviously, one at a time here,
Yes.
huh? Okay. So gentlemen, she provided us an email copy of the handwritten. What's the group's pleasure?
I move that we approve the handwritten
I'll second.
vouchers.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the handwritten checks in the amount of $161,340.27. 161,340.27. Discussion about that. Just a couple of observations, and then I do have a question.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed to have to ask it, but I'm going to anyway. There are some handwrittens in here that came out of the coronavirus relief fund, which you've identified those, and those have been forwarded on to DOLA for reimbursement. I'm assuming that if any reimbursement monies coming back from DOLA through this program will be automatic deposit.
And you know, I am not positive.
Okay,
We
I'll
would
follow.
have to ask the treasurer if they filled out an EFTPS
Okay.
form for Braden. If not, it'll be a check.
Okay, I will ask, and I will also follow up with Christy Doon and see what the normal plan is. And then, again, I am embarrassed to ask you this because I just don't remember. Did I personally sign the reimbursement for roadside supplies? Or was that stamped when I was gone?
You did sign
Okay,
that
all right.
and because it was the messaging boards.
Yes. Okay, I couldn't remember if it was stamped.
Anything over about $5,000, I won't
Okay.
stamp. I at least have a verbal by
Right.
email or something.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, I just don't want
Yeah.
to have you guys out there.
And then my other observation, I guess really probably not a question. So CIS, we're up and running with them. We've obviously already written their down deposit, their deposit check. So I read those documents, Donna. I don't remember. I think the first year was like 70 grand or something. So we're gonna owe them some more for 2020, or did that take care of
In the
2020?
preliminary, I have in capital outlay 148, and that will take care of the entire amount. That's what we had agreed on for them to talk to, so we saved the $20,000
Right.
in interest.
That's right. We were gonna pay it all.
And so it will be done,
That comes out of CI.
And then pay ourselves back.
right, that we
Correct,
Right.
saved
I
money.
remember that conversation now. I couldn't begin to quote you the
Because
number.
I couldn't remember the 148, and I just went back to look to see
Okay.
if I had it, the right number with that contract.
So our next disbursement to CIS will be in 2021.
Yes, I believe the contract maybe said February,
Okay.
and then that would be our final, everything would be done and rolling.
Sweet.
Just a matter of the journal
And do
entry.
you know, have we gotten anything from them other than a contract? I mean, about the service that they started
Is
providing any of that stuff? or-
I believe that the treasurer and assessor said like February,
Okay,
because I was just thankful because I don't want to do W-2s and 1099s on two different systems. So they, and it may even be March. I'm not sure, but it was a great timing for mine. So I was just good with it. I didn't have an opinion as long as I wasn't trying to do that worst thing twice.
and again, for common knowledge, CIS Computer Information Systems is the new software company that we've contracted to provide us with our accounting, I guess is a fair enough word, accounting software.
Right, accounting and treasurer and the assessor.
All finance.
So, yeah, finance software for all three of those departments. Mr. Prince, you have a question?
Yeah, I have two things. First, you gave us that memo. It's also in the report. I read it, so we need to discuss that later. I just wanted you to, I didn't know if you knew that we authorized the road and bridge to buy a vehicle from within their budget yesterday. Just,
No, I did not.
okay. We authorized that. They had it in their budget. It was 31,000 some odd dollars. We authorized Gary Hyde to do that. He had the money in his budget for that, and he got a smoking deal. It's going to be a cash payment, not a lease
We're not
contract.
releasing that yet. And then a follow-up to, I have forwarded the signed documents for the 3 variable message boards to be licensed isn't the correct term, but those are going to be tagged as specialty
SMM?
machinery, yeah,
Oh, okay.
SMM, thank you. So, of course, Kelly is dealing with that. It's going to end up on your desk eventually for insurance unless you've already done that.
Do discuss.
Well, and that would be Kara that you go, is the last time I did a group of credit cards, it was for a board of commissioners. And I actually went through the bank. That's where Virginia had went through, but now we have different banks. So now I don't know where it's at.
Right.
But it was, they really had an application there, but it needed sign off from the commissioners. And they were theirs, but they needed sign offs from there, and it can tell what kind of limits. I mean, she would be able to find all that, and if she wanted to compare the two
But
banks.
you have to work with her on how to set up or what the account number, how you transfer the money into it and pay it and all that kind of stuff, or with whoever.
It would just be a bill. You know, if let's say it was Tom's credit card or your credit card, when you charge something, you would have a receipt. When the bill
Oh, I see.
came, you
That's your
mentioned-
process. Okay.
Right, that it would be, because if we had to try to
And it would be
second
vouchered
guess
right off the bat.
everybody's.
Okay,
Yep,
cool.
that each person would just voucher their own charge with their receipt put to it. So it's really not
So we can
horrible.
talk.
as long as everybody's responsible. And maybe that we would mention that if they don't bring their receipts,
They don't get paid.
that card it's the charge is on
It's
them
easier
or
than
something.
they
Yeah,
can remember.
yeah, that just so that,
Yeah, and given the circumstances, addressing your letter specifically, I would question now about Mr. Jolly having a credit card.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But certainly I think the chairman of that board and their airport manager
Absolutely. I agree with that.
and possibly the treasurer.
Yeah, somebody up there. if they
I
get-
ask them what they need, but I agree with you, Mr. Jolly. I mean,
So that
there's
was
no
pretty-
longer.
And somebody needs to keep those cars filled up.
well, and something that Kara can find out for us, wouldn't it be great if it could just be called the Custer County Airport card rather than the Custer County Airport Bob Jolly card?
Yeah, I agree with
Because I
that.
don't.
That can be, there's no reason
Yeah,
why
and
not.
that way.
Just- That would
it
be
could
the
just
name on the
Locked in
car.
the desk drawer and who's ever
Yeah.
using it at that moment one would work
We
for
could do
any
that.
department. But I'm just
Maybe,
not
yeah.
sure how these banks particularly do. I'm just not familiar with the credit card from them.
Just off the top of my head, thinking about that, if someone made an unauthorized use or lost their receipt and it's not to their specific card, how do we know who did that? If there's an extra card.
Yeah,
from
maybe
the
it's
airport?
just something we need to discuss.
Yeah, I think Mr. Chairman's right. We ought to have a
Set a meeting
discussion
and
on
let's
this
have a
instead of a
discussion,
policy.
agree on.
And then how we can cancel cards if we have a lot of, and not like we're gonna have a massive
Somebody has to
turnover or
be,
something, but if we just got 5 cards and then 4 out of the 5 weren't renewed for their board the next
What happens in
year.
a family, there'll be 3 cards and they all get wiped.
Yeah,
Hate it
just,
when that happens.
but it is kind of a weird thing that happens when you're swapping them around.
Do you think if we put this on the agenda for the last day of the month, you'd be able to help us with a proposed procedure?
And absolutely,
Perfect.
well, maybe. Budget hearings and.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't
That's why I asked.
but-
That's why I
but
said end of month.
but
If
no,
we need to
it's
go
fine.
into November, I'm fine too.
But Kara, if she can twist my neck around, if you can call the bank, she could probably have every information that we have a limit of 10 cards for the county, how they can be done.
I'm
We'll
fine
probably
with
have
Karen
a
doing
huge,
the background work on
but
this.
that way she can do the calls and find it all
Sure.
out, because it should be one credit app for the whole thing. And that part I can give the information or
Right.
she'll know it. But how many would go to an account or how y'all want it?
If we leave it in your hands to get us some information and let's put it on the agenda for the 31st. However, with budget and everything, if we need to move into November, I don't have an issue, Mr. Chairman. Do you
No,
want me
I
to
certainly
take that?
don't either. And if you want to wait and do it.
I
at the
can go,
1st of
I'll try to
November.
go online and see what other counties for their credit cards.
Okay, that's
If
a
they
great
have like a
idea.
credit card policy of usage, and I could just bring that and you guys could clean it up or add or
Yeah.
subtract.
That's a great idea.
So, Ms. Carroll, let's add then to the October the 30th agenda, consideration of issuing department credit cards.
Okay.
I think we cover it, don't you, gentlemen?
Mhm.
And then probably too, we're gonna have to reach out to each department and ask them what they think they need. Doesn't mean they'll get them. I don't think we need 55 credit cards running around. But I think, they'll be reasonable and say, well, my department needs 1, mine needs 3, and don't you think that would be an approach? I did visit with Kelly about this a little bit. She not concerned, she just wanted us to be aware that nowadays, especially with hotels, they won't take a company credit card without your name on it and honor the tax ID numbers and all that. We've gotten into that going to CCI. We know that personally. So I don't know. I think that's a question we can pose to
And
the
that,
banks. And
the way I see it, that's a good thing. The credit cards for an account have the last 4 digits specific to a person. So if that card gets compromised, the account doesn't get closed, but that card does. That's how it works, at least from what I see. But those are things we need to find out. and
Right,
then we
because
can decide.
if we need 85 cards, will one bank do 85
Right.
cards? I mean, if
Right,
every
right, yeah,
single
no,
person
yeah.
right.
or,
Yeah.
so maybe
Why
if
they
you
do
would ask all the departments what they want first, and then you'll have a count.
We can find out.
25 cards for the county.
Yeah, if we think.
And then we have a number for them to work
And
with.
each one would have a specific number, but it could be called whatever. name of the person.
Yeah, if the name's on the card, it does restrict obviously the use. If we, for example, said for the airport, let's use him for example, said these are the two people we want to have credit cards, and I wouldn't have a problem with their name being on that credit card. That's how businesses run that I'm associated with. And I would agree that
And
those
if last
numbers are
words are
tied to the name.
Yeah.
So.
And that's when I did it at First State, or it might have been even Custer County Bank. I did it. It was a long time ago. On the application, I had, the overview, but then I had each
Right,
name on there. But they were really hard to cancel. That was a hard one to,
Well,
it was hard because, it's done here, but then it's somewhere else. Or actually, the bank was no longer, they had transferred. So the cards were this way and
yeah. So then another question I would pose, gentlemen, now, so that Kara can be working on that. Do you want her to investigate this with
We need-
both of the local banks?
And
Kirkpatrick and United Business Bank.
Yeah.
We don't have a bank of record, so.
I would think we ought to investigate both. One may have a better
better deal.
deal than the other one.
So Kirkpatrick Bank and United Business Bank. Okay, further discussion on the, I know we rabbit trailed there a little bit, but further discussion on the handwrittens. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote in approving the handwrittens for 161, 340, 27. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Prince,
Aye.
Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Those have been approved. Thank you, Donna, for dealing with that. Anything else before we get to the big bang thing? I'll sign these real quick and you're welcome to start with that if you'd like.
Oh,
dun, 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 dun.
it already looks like too much.
Should have a drum roll or
I
something.
know.
So are we in balance?
Oh, no. It would never, if that happened, we would all just fall over. We just would not
Thank you, ma'am.
even know.
That's close.
No.
But some of them, in some of the funds defenses, there's just nothing we can do
Can't
about
do
it.
it because of that.
Because it's a capital outlay. It's like the software. We've agreed to it.
Right.
It's just going to go in the fund balance because that's an agreement and that's why a fund balance is there. Would everything that's in that fund be okay? Not my call, but some things are, the insurance fund is a good example. Our premium is what it is. And in order to cover that premium, we do have to go in. If you go to the very last page, it gives you if you weigh 71 pages and go to the last one, it gives you your bottom line at the right-hand side.
May I interrupt for a second before we get into that too deep?
Okay.
Because you said something that's sparked a thought that I meant to share with commissioners and I did not do that. So we can just take a quick time out. I would inform the board that tomorrow, or is today Wednesday? Yeah. So tomorrow morning, we are pouring concrete for the addition to the kitchen at the jail. When the sheriff submitted his budget, he did not include that because at the time we agreed that would be paid out of capital improvement, building and maintenance / either one, I guess. But so that's why he did not include that in his budget. Initially, I said, well, we will build that concrete to the sheriff's office. And then so then we had a conversation about that. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed and I looked to Donna, capital improvement or buildings and maintenance.
And it can be one and the same
Okay.
because it is a capital expense.
So we will see that coming across.
And either way, it'll be a supplemental possibly,
Okay.
just because with all the COVID money, I mean, it just is.
So who's pouring it?
So beach ready mix is pouring.
They put a bid out on that or?
They're delivering the concrete. No, it was under the bid
Okay,
cap. So
small
that
piece.
project, yeah, it's just 2.5 yards of concrete. So the idea there, the big plan is pour that floor. We're going to lay up one course of block to get the framing up off of that ground because that ground all drains towards that location. So we're going to bump it up 8 inches with that 8 by 16 block. Then we, sheriff, myself, and trustees over there it's interesting that we have trustees at the jail and the two towns have trustees. I don't think they're the same ones, but anyway.
One you trust, one you don't.
Yeah.
That would be a no.
So we're gonna kind of team up on that project. We'll form or build those walls, 2 by 6 walls, and we'll match that existing shed roof style roof. And then, of course, insulating sheetrock. I think there's calling for 1 window to go in there. And so that project will be ongoing. We're gonna try to get it closed in before winter hits. So I just want to bring you up to speed about that. I should have done it during commissioner items. Okay, Ms. Donna, thank you. I appreciate you letting me interrupt that.
Oh, no, you're fine. And so when you look on the very last page,
Okay,
there's our numbers. But like the insurance fund, you know, it shows that we've overspent, but there's nothing in there that could be changed. So that it's just our premiums for the liability and all the cap. So, you know, some of these, even though it's over, I mean, unless we put more taxes in there, which would be foolish, that since it's a fund balance. So that's where we're at.
okay.
Well, we have a job ahead of us, don't we?
Yeah, apparently somebody expects us to operate off a balanced budget, so.
I think they call that the public.
Yeah, via state statute, correct?
That's correct.
Obviously, we'll get into the weeds of this next week.
So if I remember last year, we started the process. We were out of kilter by a little over 600,000. And this year it's 100,000 more, even though it looks like our revenues increased by about 200,000 because the mills were a little higher. You know, the tax assessment, the mills have received. So, see, we could start by cut everybody's salary. That'll be, no, it's a joke.
I vote for the boards.
Let's start with those 3.
Good by me.
So just a kind of a quick overview question, Donna, on capital improvement.
Okay.
And maybe you just said it when I was signing these checks, so I beg your pardon if you did. So that's a pretty good chunk deficit there. What does that really say to us that?
Really that 148 of that is for the contract for the CIC. And so that wouldn't be something that you would be cutting, because by using those monies, we're actually saving 20,000 and it will be recouped after. So, you know, that really is off of that initial number. You know, so it's not always going to be, I mean, it will be balanced just through the fund balance of that particular fund.
And that's what we agreed, those monies for CIC. I said CIS, and that's not right. You were correct. CIC, Computer Information Concepts.
Concepts, yes.
So that would come out of the fund balance.
Right.
Okay. All right.
And I that was the only one that I really remembered in there that was, you know, because it was a big one.
Yeah. And I'm assuming, again, these are just broad stroke questions, but for example, with Road and Bridge, they're showing a negative difference. So we would probably go to Road and Bridge and say, you're going to have to get into your fund balance to make up the difference.
All right, let's say that 70,000 was a new
Blade or
Blade.
whatever.
and you decide, well, you know what, that's a good expense, or, you know, loads of asphalt. I mean, that's one load of asphalt, that's really pricey. And so you just agreed to it. And so even though we didn't balance by the revenues exceeding the expenditures, it's still in the fund balance to make that happen.
So I'm embarrassed to ask this question because I should know the answer, but I'm foggy. Road and Bridge has their own mill. do we supplement, the other areas of the county supplement that, or do they just get their mill? It's their mill, we can't touch it, and we
Right.
don't supplement theirs.
That's right.
Exactly correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had that right.
5 mils, that's
Okay.
absolutely correct.
So we would need to go to them and say, you're out of kilter by X amount of dollars, you guys have to fix it.
Fix it.
Got it.
Or-
Okay.
Or we can use money,
I understand,
It's a great question.
but we don't put our money into them.
not normal.
See, and I thought general fund did support road and bridge.
At one time, yes, but once that last mill levy passed, we have not had to supplement them for a long, long time.
Okay.
So fair to
That
say,
doesn't stop us from doing it.
right,
You know,
fair to say that road and bridge functions off of their own budget revenues from that 5 mils.
From the 5 mills and the highway users. Usually highway users
Yeah.
is probably 1.2. I suppose.
Who knows what it's gonna be this year, but
It's
Down.
down about 15%, I think.
And when I get into the weeds in here, I can see what their fund
And
balance
we need to do this
is.
in our
Yes,
meeting.
when you go to the
Right.
first page, yep.
I love it. I mean, you just did a great job.
so, would you share with the board, about the health insurance situation?
I had initially sent out that it was going to be 10% because they did not know. With COVID, you never know, because we're a pool. We were extremely lucky here. Who knows somewhere else. But who knew that COVID shutting everything down would make no one in this county on our insurance actually go to the doctors? So we dropped a band. So we are staying exactly the same, no increase. So I did go through I took Kara's insurance bill, multiplied that at that moment that I found that out by 12 and plugged that in.
So they're accurate.
They are just unless somebody's changed coverage in the last 5 minutes, that's the perfect number for the insurance.
Good. Huge blessing
Yeah,
for us.
huge, that
Huge
is
blessing.
big.
I don't want that to just fall on deaf ears because that's
Because it could have very well been a 20%
right.
had some county had people on ventilators and it could have been hideous.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so officially, we've been presented with the preliminary annual budget, which has to happen according to state statute.
And the posting was in the paper. Because I'm always real nervous. I thought, uh-oh, can't do that yet.
Don't want to forget that, do we? So we will, quote unquote, dive into the weeds on this on Tuesday next week. Thank you for sending out again the copy of the schedule. I looked at it and I found myself saying, oh, well, the first day shouldn't be too ugly. Yeah, okay. I don't know what planet I've been on, but not that they'll be ugly, but it's going to be
A lot of work.
trying times for sure. So,
And I will take this and put it in Kelly's office for the public.
Okay.
I have scanned it in. I will get Vernon when he's got some time to put it on the prelim on the
Okay.
website.
the prelim goes on the website. And then, go ahead, because I'll have to gather my thoughts. I have a question, but it
Okay,
kind
I
of.
just was gonna ask about process. We of course will live stream all of the hearings.
It's a workshop. We don't normally live stream those, so I guess that's a conversation we ought to have. Which does bring up the point that we need to post those as workshops. They're not recorded and typically not live streamed. We can make a decision about how you want to move forward with that.
So here's what I would like to suggest, just as a transparency issue. I would suggest we live stream it, but do not open for public comment. Just so the public can watch what's going on, can listen to thought processes, how we handle this process, because all of us have gotten a lot of grief about why do you give so much money to this one and not this one, that kind of thing. This will give the opportunity for public to watch the process if they choose to. Just a thought. I'll just put that on the
Any
table.
response, Mr. Taylor? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, we make decisions in that meeting.
No,
No,
it's not a meeting, it's a workshop.
Oh, wait a minute. when we're discussing the budget, we're asking people to think about it, do things, come back, take a cut, don't take a cut. Those are decisions. To me, I don't know what we did last year. What did we do last year? Clint, do you?
We'll have a motion to approve
It's
the final
going to
budget.
approve the final budget.
Right.
That's the decision.
Right, that's when you make it.
And that's.
Yeah,
December.
In December, that's when you.
December
Right.
5th this
So,
year.
yeah, you're right. So workshop wise,
But Bill's-
that's-
you got a really good point, because we will say to someone, hey, could you live with X
We're not
amount of
just
dollars
listening to
less than
somebody.
what you're asking
Right.
for? And if they say, yeah, I can live with that, is that a decision that's
No.
being made?
No, not in my opinion.
Okay, I'm just asking, because
Opinion.
I don't want to be in violation of the sunshine
What
law.
did we do last year, Clint? Did we, I don't remember.
That's ours.
I don't remember ever
It's a
making
workshop.
it.
Yeah, we've
It's always
You
a
had
never-
workshop.
to
40 different
informally
minutes.
agree on a number, but you don't make it
Yeah.
official until
And
you.
so, and I don't think we ever broadcast. Of course, we never broadcast in those days. Yeah. That was the old days.
And well, I think would this be the third budget hearings or the fourth with live streaming? We've never done that. Not
Being the third. Well, this
I know
would
I'm-
be the fourth. We've
Okay.
been through three. You're right.
Yeah, I'm- if I could have Kelly's table, I will be so excited. that I can spread out.
Just put Kelly out here because she won't be in here anyway.
Okay.
She's not, we're not recording
The
it.
table if you want.
So
And
every year we're gonna do
of
that.
course, you
from now on,
can
'cause
bring in whatever chair you want. Ms. Beaver's had a habit of doing that, so you're welcome to do the
I'll have
same
to
thing.
sit on my legs. Too short to get to the top.
I think to meet the statutes, I'm assuming we will take official action on that budget on December the 9th. That's the Wednesday. I believe we do it the second day of those.
And I did date it the right. After I thought, did I change that date?
It's the 9th. That's what you have as well. Yeah. So, so we will post I think you probably got this already, but I'm just going to reiterate it, that we will post the budget hearings as workshops.
Yeah.
I think one post will be enough. We'll just post all 4 days, 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th.
If I send her that, can then she just put workshop or
Yeah, we just use a regular
Just a regular
agenda and just change it to,
dates are different. It's a continuous meeting.
Thank you.
We take a recess every evening.
so, yeah, good, great point. Thanks for bringing that up, Jay. So, gentlemen, I feel we could do it by consensus. Do you want to live stream those workshops or not?
I don't think it's worth it. They can if they want.
I'm good either way.
I can't imagine anybody wanting to listen to them.
And it's like watching paint dry.
Council, you have any opinion about that? Whether we live stream the workshops or no? We have never live streamed the workshops.
The workshops are open to the public.
So they could have come in here during good times and sat there and listened. I think.
Did we ever have public come in during? I don't remember anybody.
Like conservation trust people do so
Yeah, they
they can
can.
state their case.
Right, they're presenters.
And but other than that, we've never had.
Yeah.
Well, Jackson used to come in and sit.
Yeah, she
but-
sat there.
last
Yeah.
hearing.
she's-
Probably ought to live stream.
It probably just to satisfy the open meeting requirement. even for a
Somebody can
workshop,
tune in and talk.
it Probably should be live streamed.
It's not a law, correct? You don't have to live stream workshops.
No, but you gotta allow the public to come and.
Really?
But it has to
Yeah,
be.
that could
Right.
turn into 12.
You have to be.
You gotta be able to come in and tell and listen.
So,
If we're not gonna let them in the room, we gotta live stream.
Go to the park and
Or go to a different room.
lounge chairs, yeah, it's a lounge chair.
yeah, I don't have a problem with live streaming it at all.
Yeah,
Not an issue
I
there.
think it should be done that way, so there's no question about it.
Mr. Byrne, you good with that?
Yes, sir.
Live stream the workshops for the budget hearings?
We can do that.
Thank you. Again, I agree with Commissioner Prince's assessment about public comment. We're not going to be making any decisions during the hearings themselves, so I don't know that public comment would be appropriate, needed, or
No, there's no requirement for that in the workshop.
okay. So we'll work on that posting and get that up before the end of the week. Very good. Anything else, Ms. Donna?
No, I think I set a record for.
Yeah, well, thank you for all your work. I don't even want to begin to guess how many hours this document represents out of your office, but
Yeah.
Okay, either I missed it,
Uh-oh.
I probably missed it. Did we get the ad for an assistant for your in the paper yet?
Yes, it was in.
Okay, I missed it then.
and
We
we'll
have 0 on grounds and building,
You-
2 on my spot,
Good.
my person's spot, and 1 at Human Services.
Yes, there's one spot for human services.
we got one application, right?
And yeah,
Okay,
and seems like we have 5 of them out there.
Well, Road and Bridge has one,
Oh, and the public health, but I think, yeah, health has
public health for their part-time nurse.
organization.
Yeah. So, great question. I had this conversation with Donna the other day. Are we going to continue those vacancy announcements in the paper? Was there a deadline on those? I don't remember.
Is, we wrote until the position was filled.
Okay,
You keep it going.
so those will stay in the,
So I will have them.
those will stay in the newspapers until we change our mind, correct?
Okay, or, yeah,
Change our mind means, okay, we've had enough applications, we're going to interview.
and I'm only doing them a week at a time so that we've not hired someone and still have
Right.
it in.
Yes.
It seems-
Do you have a feel for, I don't want to call it your position because that sends out the wrong message, for the assistant.
Well, even I started to say it
I know,
myself that
for
way.
the assistant finance director, do you have a sense or a feel, or do you have an anticipation of coming to the commissioner and saying, we've got X number of applications? I would recommend that we close that position and move forward, or what's your thoughts?
Usually it's a group of 3, not that that's the thing. If we have the interviews with what I have, I think y'all could find someone. So, but is 3 better? I don't know why 3 is like my number.
It's been up 2 weeks, the vacancy announcement.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, as most supervisors are intimately involved in hiring someone who's gonna work for them, obviously, I would care very much if you came to me and said, this is the applicant I feel most comfortable with, and then, of course, we would just go through that, so. When you're ready, just.
You're interviewing.
Please, Excel, 72-page
Yeah,
Excel.
so, yeah,
Right.
I think that begs, at least warrants conversation. Do we want Donna to do the interviews?
You should.
Do we want to be part and parcel to that?
Yeah. I don't feel.
We don't do it for Gary.
We need to be in there. If Donna would invite me, I would be happy to be there, but I would certainly not push myself on it. And that's how I really feel.
Yeah.
If you like me there, I'll be there. So you have to say, well, what do you think about what the person said on this? What do you think? Just you have someone to kick with, to kind of chit chat about, but I'm going to defer to you what you feel most comfortable with.
I could see it either way. If I could talk with the people beforehand, I think I could know a little bit of whether I would be able to make, how sometimes like you have 3 that are all winners and you need a different perspective to pick. But sometimes you
You're the
just,
boss, man.
that you just know when you have the right person. So it's your call.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with you conducting the interviews. If you need or want assistance, I think we'd all be willing to do that. And then I'm assuming once you make your decision, you come to the commissioner and say, this is who I'm
You're not gonna
recommending.
go and make sure they're doing their job. You are. You lead. So, your choice.
I will look back through and hope that I get a third.
Council's at work, and from a legal standpoint, department heads hire and fire all the time, so.
Sure.
You comfortable with that, Ms. Donna?
I am.
Okay, so, gentlemen, would you then agree also that it's Donna's call when she feels she's had an adequate number of applications and she can move forward?
I absolutely agree with that, and I think you know, what we're really saying is, Don, it's your call. You tell us how you want to handle it and you're ready to go.
We'll do it.
Good, thank you. Appreciate your work in that area as well.
Thanks for this. You know,
So, sorry, go ahead.
you know, if the county has a big 3-hole puncher.
We do.
We do. And then also, I was going to ask, do you want me to, when I send that to Vernon to go on the website, do y'all want it on your computers, just a scan file? That way you don't have to carry the paper around. You could look, you know, if you get bored and you
Easier to
just need
zip through.
some.
I like
the hard copy.
No,
Something to
I'll
write
ship it
notes
to y'all
when
when
we're
I send
talking
it
and
to
stuff.
You need a hard copy, but doesn't hurt to have.
But we do, and zoning has a huge one that does like 50 pages or something. It's
I'll go over there.
Who does?
Jackie. It's.
Oh, she does.
Yeah, it's a.
Good, I'll do that. I like to have it in the folder. Okay.
How many pages?
Yeah, I think
About half of this at a time.
72, I think, yeah, so just a couple clunks instead of 5 at a time.
I think electronic versions for our workshop would be helpful.
That's great.
Okay, well, thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate that.
Thank
Thanks for your time. Yep. Gentlemen, we'll move on to treasurer's report. She has submitted that to us, hard copy.
She was outside, so I don't know where I saw her.
And again, she would be available to answer questions if we have any.
I didn't have any, to tell you the truth. I looked at it. It's like normal.
I would move that we approve the treasurer's report
I'll second it.
for September. The move and seconded to accept the treasurer's report as presented. A discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Commissioner Kenda.
Aye.
Mr. Flower votes aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Kara, is there a copy or the signed document on your desk from yesterday, the report from BSO? Or did that move up the ladder?
I do, there was nothing on my desk,
Okay,
but
all right,
let
well, I'll
me-
follow up. I asked Jay to ask Kelly to put that on your desk. I don't know what happened to it, so Kelly may have it, but I signed that document yesterday, BSO's report.
You did.
Here's the report
I handed
for,
it to Kelly.
so just make a note, we'll make sure that got to where it was supposed to go, if you would, please. IT,
Yes.
good morning, sir.
Good morning, all.
And thank you for your work on our communications situation.
Glad I could do it.
Brandon, thanks.
Thank you. Pretty standard fare, aside from a few ups and downs with the sound system, getting everything just working smoothly. Top of the list, canceling unneeded phone lines. We're now turning a net profit by using fiber instead of the old DSL lines, so this is a good thing.
Yes.
It's been, yeah, it's and it's really it really helps us here in the county building too. I mean, just being able to do this, we wouldn't have been able to do this on our old system.
Right.
So elections work, we'll be putting up signs. We'll be putting up signs on Friday. And we have, I don't know if Kelly's mentioned a new ballot box down at Wetmore. We are putting up we have to actually have that under 24-hour surveillance. So we talked to an electrician, he put in a power box, and I'll be installing the camera probably Friday or Monday. So transferring MSAG responsibilities, I know that's kind of obscure. I'm talking with the sheriff about, so the MSAG is what we call the Master Street Address Guide. It is a component of the 911 database that directs first responders to specific locations. So when a phone call comes in, they know, oh, it's been, that phone call is coming from this location. And they can pinpoint it to an exact address if that address is in what we call the Master Street Address Guide, the MSAG. There's been talk, because FreeCom is doing all of our 911 dispatching, there's been talk of switching that responsibility as well. There's some ramifications around that. I'm exploring them and working with the gentleman that handles that for Fremont. And I'll report next month whether or not that goes through or whether we'll keep that here. So it's a process. It's involved. I mean, literally, I have a high security clearance because I have access to all all of the addresses for the 911 systems. So I have to make certain that that is all updated and processed cohesively. So I don't want to transfer responsibility until I know that it's going to be taken care of the way we take care of it here. So, updating security systems in the county building. It's an ongoing process. It's been fun. It's interesting finding all the little ins and outs. I can block a whole bunch of stuff and then find out that, oh, wait, we need to do that for first responder training. We need to allow those websites for first responder training even, and it's just surreal what lurks in the background of every single website. For instance, I blocked a shopping website that I found people were doing a lot of shopping at. I blocked this shopping website. Then I discovered that that shopping website sells templates that operate in the background of education websites. And so by blocking the shopping website, I was actually turning off 90% of the education websites. So this is an interesting little balancing act for security. It is, as I've mentioned in private conversations, I'm working with a worldwide actually security training program. And in my cohort, there's directors of security for big cities and massive multi-million-dollar businesses and whatnot. And what's amazing is that we all face the exact same security issues. The only difference is the budget and energy that we have to throw at it. We all face the exact same ones. It's surreal. So, but I'm doing my best to keep us safe and move forward in a good way. Sheriff's Office, notably there, we installed new cameras at the behest of the departments over there. We've installed new cameras in more secure locations. So that's a good thing. Let's see. So I wanted to talk about replacing Alex. We talked about the possibility of replacing Alex. We talked about the need for a new person. And I wanted to get your input on that. I have a lead on a new intern that I can train up in our systems. He's currently working over at the jail, but he would like to understand computer systems and everything that we do here too. So I wanted to talk to you about what we can do to move forward in that regard.
So doesn't he have some training?
He does have some training, yes. And he's already gone through all the security background that we would need for this position too.
And what's his status of the sheriff's office?
He's a full-time employee over there, but so I can bring him on as an intern and use him and pay him a certain amount out of my contract labor. And it does not affect his full-time status. I don't have to pay him time and a half or anything like that because it's like getting a second job because it's a completely different department. So that's what I found when I started researching what we can do here. Yes, sir.
So how many hours?
I'm just looking at 8 to 12 tops. Or a week, yes.
So as a contract labor?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. What I was thinking of, we wouldn't need to post that, I don't believe, and I feel that I don't have an issue with that. What kind of salary, what kind of hourly wage were you thinking about?
Well, I was looking at the minimum wage to start him out to see how he handled this type of situation and the work environment at $12 an hour, which is Colorado minimum wage now.
That's a shame you can't live on it. That's just a personal opinion. Well, gentlemen, I don't have an issue with this. I'm fine if Vern goes ahead and moves forward.
Me too.
At our contract labor.
Yeah, I guess my perspective here would be a question to Vern and to the BOCC is do we or should we, do we need to or should we look at a full-time position split somehow to include IT work? We've still got this looming PIO thing in front of us.
I've taken over all the responsibilities of the PIO at this point.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that. We were without.
But that's why you need a part-time now for this other thing. So-
Right.
So looks good to me for now, unless you're overloaded.
I am overloaded.
This helps enough.
Well, let's see if it'll help enough. I mean, it'll be a training process. I am overloaded in a lot of ways. I can maintain, but we have projects that need to move forward too.
I don't think we're questioning.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That's
We're
fine.
questioning,
Where do you need more?
is part-time right, contract labor right, full-time shared employee right? That's really what we're debating,
Okay.
I believe.
That's where I was headed.
Yeah.
The-
Do we
I
have,
look at this as kind of a stopgap measure to a decision that we either haven't made or we don't believe we can afford to make, or we haven't really looked into it, which is the truth. We haven't looked into some kind of a full-time shared. I know Vern's been doing the PIO stuff. It's certainly, we haven't hired him to be the PIO. He's doing that in addition to his regular work. And I appreciate that because it takes some time. He's been getting the training and so on and so forth. So just a thought, I don't have a problem with bringing on an intern on a contract labor basis, but I think we're dodging the big decision that we probably need to make at some point.
well, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think what I would suggest to us is that we allow Vern to move forward at this point, and then let's on a future agenda think about have an open discussion on what the needs of the county are and questions like, can we
Well, see,
afford it?
you'll have a better opportunity to tell us whether it's working as a part-time thing or not. We'll have more information to decide whether you need a whole.
And I was
As you
worried
said.
about sharing because
I do too.
I'm afraid, one area might hog the person more than another area that might need it more. I mean, I just don't know how that really, I don't know how that works, if it works well, or maybe it does, maybe it works great, but it's a concern that I have.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about hiring significant number of new hires here.
Yes, we are.
And so I think maybe after our budget, then we step
That's
back,
what
take a
I-
look at it and say, this is what we need, this is what we can afford.
Right.
I'm all for
Until
that.
such time,
Good.
I feel comfortable allowing a contract labor to come in for 8 to 10 hours a week at $12 an hour to take some load off of Vern at this point, and then have that important discussion once the budget process is done. I mean, we're starting this thing at $750,000 in the hole. That's significant. That's 10% of what, our budget's going to be. We're already over, so we need to make some really hard decisions, and it may be in some personnel areas. I don't know. So,
That's right. We gotta wait. I agree. We
yeah,
gotta move
let's see
forward.
where we are, and then we'll move forward. So I'm okay with authorizing Vern to move forward on a 10th at this point.
Thank you. I appreciate
Contract
that.
labor. That's-
You want to do that by consensus or motion?
I'll tell you what, since it will affect us, why don't I move that we authorize IT director to engage the services of a contract employee for no more than 12 hours a week. Would that work?
That work?
No more than 12 hours a week with a starting salary of $12 an hour.
Second.
The movement second to authorize IT director to hire a intern. In the terms you stated in your motion, 12 hours a week,
12 hours.
maximum
$12.
12 hours a week, right?
That's
And 12
contract labor.
That's contract labor.
Thank you.
12 hours a week at $12 an hour. Further discussion about that? And then hopefully after budget, we can have you back during the staff report and give us an update on how that's working. You'll probably have a better feel for it. And
Maybe next staff report, I can give you a report on that. And I can crunch some numbers and have some proposals for PIO work and possibilities that we can move forward with that.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Oops, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You gotta give us a name.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye, opposed nay. Motion carries.
Sorry to interrupt your motion. I apologize.
No problem. Okay, sir.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay,
And I have them.
Forward.
Thank you for coming in.
thank you.
Thanks for all your work too. This means a lot.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
5 minutes, 3 minutes?
Yeah, I prefer to finish up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
This is your-
My mistake.
This is your documentation for Upper Ark.
You know, I sat in that
Oh,
chair.
okay.
That's why. So next staff report, OEM. I'm gonna run a little behind, but
Good idea.
That's facetiousness.
Yeah, yes, that's what that.
If I may.
we're sending your
Yeah, I got you.
staff report in advance. We appreciate that.
Thank you. How are you guys today?
Good.
Doing well. Floor's yours, sir.
Well, you have my report. The first question I would ask, do you have any questions on what I presented you? And then I'd like to just go through the report, selected items. I want to point your attention to the Oem Volunteer Report that we now have 5 volunteers working in the department, and we'll likely add 2 additional volunteers in October. An individual who has some expertise in the urban interface building area, and then an environmental quality expert who can help us develop a monitoring system for our air quality here in Custer County. Today, this morning, our air quality was measured at 0. By 9:30, our air quality had gone up to 61. And yesterday afternoon, our air quality was in the 131.
High numbers are bad, right?
High numbers are bad. And so our air quality is extremely bad. And working with public health, our concern is that if we enter the flu season with respiratory concerns, it will make the possibility for COVID-related issues to be present.
So what is it, smoke, dust, what is it?
Well, it's smoke, it's fires, it's a combination of all of those things, Bill. It's not really dust. Dust, we typically get in the wintertime, but this is all smoke related from wildfires all over the Pacific West. And so it's the particulate matter. When you come out on a vehicle and having a light pickup and you come out on a vehicle, you can see the ash in the air.
If I may, sir, when it was really, really bad, when we couldn't see the mountains and stuff, you and I had a conversation about you put out public service message. And of course, I thought that is always the right thing to do. The more information we get out, the better. Do we have an actual procedure on when you would put out a public service message and when you would not? Do we need one?
Well, 61 is, it's not acceptable when you're usually at 0. 61 would be an acceptable area. When you get up above 61 into the 100, 110 range, it starts to affect our elderly population. And what we don't want to do is to put out so many alerts that it becomes so commonplace.
Sky's falling, they ignore
starters. And so we sensitized people to the fact that there was an air quality concern. And the way that we are handling it in both the public health department and OEM is to put the air quality measurements on our Facebook site. And we're getting, like in September, we had about 4,500 hits on our Facebook site. So we're getting a lot of people looking at the Facebook site for information. I believe that that would be the better place to put it, and that we would only use like an Everbridge alert system if it was so bad, like that one day that we did the alert when the visibility was less
Like
than
the list is almost 0.
And so that would be my recommendation, is to not desensitize the members of the public by putting out so many alerts that it becomes so commonplace that they don't look at that information.
Makes perfectly good sense. Where does the numbers come from? Do we have our own equipment?
We don't have our equipment. We have equipment that was given to public health that we have not put in to place yet because in order to test this equipment, it's got to meet the EPA standards. So we're looking at what those particular standards are. But to answer your question, the Colorado Department of Health and Environment is the agency that reports to us. That's where we get our information from. They get their information from the federal agency, which is the Environmental Protection Agency. And the EPA monitors or has monitoring systems all over the country, and that's where the reporting comes from. So it's a federal system which reports to the state, which reports to local government. What we have found, though, is that we typically have our air quality monitoring stations in the Front Range. There are very few air quality monitoring stations in this mid-range, high elevation area. The only system, we have a Four Corners monitoring site and then one in Grand Junction. We don't have anything in this, what I call the intermediate zones between the valley and
I believe, isn't Dr. Brown, and you are, have you discussed it? I think he wants one to be put on the mid-range area somewhere.
Yes.
So you can balance the two.
yes, we're looking at that process.
CARES request maybe,
Well,
it's COVID related.
there's a couple of ways we can go with that. We can go through CARES, which is just one way, but there's other grants that are available to try to get air monitoring. What we would like to have between the two departments, and I think it would be good for all the agencies in this area, is a foothill site where we can sniff the air and then get into that reporting system, because our air quality at times can be worse than the air quality in, let's say, Pueblo, which is where we get our reports
Maybe a
from.
temperature inversion up here or down there, it's a lot different.
That's absolutely correct. Like the day that we had zero visibility for about an hour and a half, Pueblo was reporting
Clear
16.
skies.
And so it varies that much between the two areas.
I have a question, if I may, on the report, under the volunteers.
Yes.
These titles, plans section chief, I have no idea what that means.
A planning section chief under the ICS is a person who has qualifications in planning meetings, facilitating meetings, putting together operational plans in response to an emergency.
Okay, so these are ICS titles?
They are FEMA titles and ICS titles and NIMS titles. They're used interchangeably.
Okay.
And so like
Who's that person?
that would be Glenn McNett. He's Glenn was a district ranger with the U.S. Forest Service for many years. He has
Going pretty well.
he's a good man.
Very experienced.
Yeah, he's pretty experienced.
And these folks are all being background checked, is that true? Or?
They have been checked by our HR department. We don't do a complete check on them because many of the people, I think they're volunteers, but yeah, HR has a file on all of them, and they've been giving, in case they were to take a fall on the job or something like that. We've got their information so that the workers' comp claim would be filed, that they would be protected and the county would be protected.
And so you're not housing these volunteers on a permanent basis, they come and go?
Well, I'd like to say that, and I realize that money's tight and I'm listening in on the other calls, but you know, there's going to come a point, especially in an emergency, where you're going to have places at the table for these folks to sit. And so currently, the only ones that are in and out of the office on a regular basis would be Kathy and Jordan. Kathy puts in about 16 hours a week. She comes in on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 6 hours a day. So she's the most active volunteer. Jordan does most of his volunteer work from home because he maintains our Facebook site. And so that can be done remotely.
And what is Kathy's last name?
Haddon, and she also shares between my department and the sheriff's department as a volunteer.
Pretty sharp.
A lot of Kathy.
She loves doing it.
Yes, yeah.
From what I saw when I saw her.
Other questions about the report, gentlemen, before we move on?
No, I want to give him a commendation for the work he did with CDOT. We've got the rights of way through town to put the signs wherever.
Right. And on that bill, I sent you guys.
And they got with some free equipment. What did they give you?
They just
Barriers.
took some barriers and things that they had a surplus and let it have so that we could meet the requirements for placing those trailers. The thing that we are waiting for is the final approval, and that has to go, through the, let's call it through the ranks. And so once we get the final approval, then we can place the trailers. We purchased the locks, they're combination locks, and they have been keyed to the county code standard that is used by Road and Bridge, so that we don't have to have or memorize different combinations. I'm not going to, in a public setting, say what that combination is, but it's a very familiar combination that other departments utilize. And the reason is security. There was an incident up on I-25 a few years ago using an electronic sign. And because they were not locked, someone was able to get in and put on some pretty interesting messages, and we don't want that to happen. So in addition to the 3 sites that are in the county right away, we've identified 3 sites, one on Hermit Road, one on County Road 140 on the Rosita side of that particular road, and then another one off Oak Creek Grade. So we do have alternate sites within the county right away. And Tom, I thank you for helping us get the trailers moved over to the Road and Bridge yard.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I have a couple questions about the trailers. So if we want to deal with that now, we can. If we want to deal with it later, it's up to you.
Let me finish going through the report and let's pick up on that. And so, like I mentioned, we're going to add 2 more volunteers to the department sometime in October, and that'll bring us up to 7 volunteers. And then we're just going to kind of take a pause and get all of our volunteers through the NIMS training and through the basic ICS training, so they're familiar with our terminology. I had a couple of questions in my notes. Do we ever have county directors meetings? In other words, where the county staff get together to discuss county business? And if we don't, I would like to.
We have staff reports.
Well, we have staff reports, but the staff.
There is a staff meeting.
Okay, and I've not yet attended one. So if there's a staff meeting, I would like to know when those meetings are being held and who writes the agenda, because I would like to get together with other staff members to discuss
quarterly meetings.
Okay, so they're quarterly. And then is there a county safety committee?
Nope.
Okay, I would suggest that we look into having a safety committee to address some safety concerns that have been brought to my attention. One of those concerns is who maintains the AED units.
So you would be the chairman of that.
I did not say that I'd be
That's
the
what I'm
chair,
hearing.
but I wouldn't be opposed to having a well-qualified person chair a safety committee meeting. So I just wondered if we had that.
We do have a health and safety response team. They've been inactive for some time,
And that's sort of.
but probably,
Maybe.
I don't know that it would be a duplication in efforts, but
Okay, well, it could be a similar team, I
I
think.
should talk to them and
Yeah.
maybe you can merge it.
And so if I find out, if I could have a list of the people who are on that committee, that would be important. And where I'm going with all of this is ultimately as part of our HAZ mitigation planning process, which we will begin seeking contracts and putting together a proposal here in November, December, and we hope to go to award a contract to rewrite the county's HAD mitigation plan sometime in January of 2021. So we're in the process of, we just completed the training as to what goes into that document. They've, Tom, you sat in on some of that, but we're starting that process. But in the overall scheme of things in emergency management, a lot of our responders come from county employees, and I would like to see at a minimum that all the county employees at least have a basic first aid card, which provides them with basic CPR and basic first aid. And I don't think many of our county employees are current. The other thing that the Department of Public Health and Environment and the Department of Health Emergency Management requires is that our county employees have cards, if you will, but through the salamander system, we can
Oh.
issue county employees cards so that in an emergency, they're not held, let's say at a roadblock, they're able to get through.
Yeah, we have that.
I think we have.
We have that.
We do have employee cards. I found mine
Not
the other
everybody
day. I
has
haven't
them.
used it.
Yeah.
But we have them.
Certain people have.
I know during the last emergency, we had them out using them.
Yeah, but they have to be updated on
I know.
a biannual basis. And what the card shows is what they're qualified for in terms of ICS qualifications and things like that. So I would like to talk with the department heads to make certain that the information that is in the salamander system is current. We're finding that some of the information is not current and it needs to be
Probably
updated.
so. That's real old.
Yeah, and so we just need to make certain that we have the upgraded information, those systems. You'll see this in the budget is we don't have storage space for a lot of the OEM equipment that we're getting. We are kind of guessed in the search and rescue building. They treat us really well, but we're acquiring more equipment all the time, but we have no place to really store our equipment.
Even vehicles.
Even vehicles. Public health has a similar concern. They have a lot of equipment that is being stored out in the open and not under storage. And some of the equipment that we will be receiving is even more sophisticated.
So you're proposing something in the budget?
Well, I did put in the budget something about storage. I think IT has a concern. Public health has storage concern. Search and rescue actually has a storage concern, and so does OEM. And so I would like us to at least have that in our heads that somewhere down the road, we're going to have a better storage facility to protect the equipment that we're buying, to be able to readily access the equipment without having to take things down. So that's just something. And then in the labor, we're all talking about contract labor. OEM also has some contract labor. I will not pay an employee $12 an hour. The rate that we use, the in-kind labor rate, is $22 an hour. That's what we use if we use volunteers to assist us in writing our contracts and things like that. And so I think we need to really look at using the standardized labor rate when we use contract labor, because it's actually around $22.50 an hour.
Is that within your budget?
If I pay them, yes, that is within the budget. And then if we get additional grants, I would at least like to pay those employees.
Whenever you get whoever volunteering on whatever.
Yeah, when we have that opportunity. So I would be looking at a $22.50 because you give a person a fair wage, they perform. You give them.
You're talking about your volunteers, you're talking about down the road.
Down the road,
The need
yes.
rises.
When the need arises.
Hire somebody.
You don't need to say volunteer, but it's a special, it's a once in a while kind of guy that you need for specialty things.
Well, like for the grant and the grant process
Grant,
that
right.
we'll be going through, I will be charging their time at $22.50. And there's opportunities to pay them some time. I would be paying them at a $22.50 rate. That would be my recommendation, at least. There was an interesting article, and I don't know if you read the Sentinel or not, but I think it affects how we look at wildfire mitigation. And if you take a look at page 19 of the Sentinel article, it was titled "Protecting Your Home for a Wildfire." And actually in California with Cal Fire, this was something that we were looking at. We tend to want to modify the field and the vegetation, but there are things that we can be doing as part of pre-mitigation work for wildfires with the homes themselves. For example, taking, not too many people have shake roofs anymore, but by going to metal roofs, you can prevent fire from burning down a house by having metal eaves underneath the house, because when a fire burns a house, it wraps around and comes under the eave. And by having some standards on the types of roofs that you put on a house, the types of
You're not suggesting building code.
I am not suggesting building codes, but what
We're
I
suggesting information and making sure that that's part of the process of making people smart.
Well, I think it's something that we can do to give the public the tools that they need to make better decisions about the materials that they use to build their homes. Jay, I want to address your question because in all of the training that I've received in the last couple months regarding to grants and mitigation, there will come a day, and I know folks will not want to hear this, but the day is coming where if we do not meet a standard, we will not be able to receive mitigation grants.
Or an insurance.
Or insurance. So I want to put that out there. That doesn't necessarily mean building codes.
We're not going to crucify you for saying that, I promise.
No.
We recognize the future may bring different changes that need to occur.
And so that is what I'm saying, and it's being tied to many of the grants that we have traditionally received, that we have to meet a baseline standard. How that looks can be quite different from county to county, but
we have missed some grant opportunities because of lack of a building code within the county in the past. And, we worked through it because the people voted and said they didn't want a building code. That was the end of that. But I agree with you. At some point in the future, so that we can better maintain our county, there may be some kind of regulation that needs to come down the line. I mean,
in time
I
you
won't be
have,
here, but somebody will.
well, someone will be here, and that'll be
I like what you.
a battle for another day. But
You probably see that, yeah.
Yeah, we can move on.
yes,
So I had a chance to visit with Adrian about these message signs. Certainly qualified my comments to him that I was bouncing an idea off of him as an individual commissioner. Certainly didn't speak for all of us, and that was to try to figure out the most efficient way to manage these variable message signs. My personal opinion that OEM is a common sense place for that to occur. We haven't had a conversation about this, so I'm bringing it up now. So I don't know if we want to officially designate OEM office to manage these signs, or how you want to go about that. But so far, it's been kind of a willy-nilly approach. I just made the suggestion. Adrian and I had a conversation. He agreed that he thought that would make sense, but that's as far as that really is.
My opinion would be it's logical. I don't think we need to vote on it. If that's what you think you can do, and that should be in your office, which
yeah, we have no problem as a
You including
department.
the messages on the signs?
no, not necessarily. He's at least that's how I interpreted what you said.
Yeah.
Don't know, hadn't really gotten to that conversation.
What was the question? I missed the question.
He wanted to know if that would include the
messages.
messaging, if you would be in charge of the messaging as well.
And what I would say to that, Jay, is that I am not going to, as a department head, write messages that are public health related. What I would do is collaborate with the public health office and take their messages and then put them on the signs. We have no problem doing that.
Or a fire department.
Or with fire, or with road and bridge wanted to use. So in collaboration with the other department heads, we have no problem putting those
You have
messages.
no problem maintaining that.
Maintaining
I'm
them.
certainly in favor of it.
Me too.
Yeah, again, we're about to enter in what I consider just another good old boy agreement. Adrian Washington may not always be the OEM director.
Well, you could write it as his policy, couldn't he, Tom, in his own department? And
We are writing
part
the
of it.
policy and procedure manual.
That's what we decide as a board. That's why I brought it up. So,
It seems appropriate to me. The Office of Emergency Management would manage the signs for emergencies. I mean, it just makes logical sense to me.
His
That's what those
policy,
signs are
then it's
for.
real.
They're for public information and to alert the citizens of a
It's just another
emergency
tool.
situation.
Is what I say. It's just another tool that we would utilize. I think all
It's in your
the county.
wheelhouse.
Yeah, all the county heads know that if they want to have it moved around, that they'll coordinate.
Then you
with
just
us.
got to make sure people are aware. See, the difference now is there's a lot more things happening that people need to recognize of what your actual duties and responsibilities are, and you're getting that out.
And then somewhere down the road, we won't need it probably for 3 to 5 years, is that there has to be a budget item to replace the batteries that are in those trailers. And then we collaboratively could each kick into the pot because we all are going to be using it. Something that
Or you're in charge, you get the budget, and got to make sure it happens.
Yeah.
Well, I would move that we authorize the Office of Emergency Management to handle the managerial efforts concerning these 3 variable message signs.
Is it okay to have that made in this meeting?
Yeah, I think so.
Have a problem. I don't think anybody would argue public.
A spin out of his report.
I'll second it.
We move seconded to authorize or assign the Office of Emergency Management to manage the 3 variable message signs that the county now owns. Further discussion?
You want to make it broad enough, just say message signs, because we grew enough, we needed 4.
Well, I'm
Why
okay
say
with that.
3?
Yeah, just the variable message signs.
That'd be good.
Okay. Hearing no discussion, let's proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Prince,
Aye.
Commissioner Kenda,
Aye.
and Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries. So, yeah, and you say you are working on some policies and procedures. We'd appreciate having a look at those at some point as well.
These are mainly operational policies and procedures when you move it to do,
Right.
this and that type of things to make sure they don't
A
get.
checkout system built into that.
Yeah.
For other departments. Okay, good. Okay, anything else?
That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Good work.
Time for a break.
Without objection, the chair would recommend about a 3-minute break. Not hearing no objection. We stand in
Congratulations.
recess.
Thank you.
Do you have a new baby? Did she get a name?
Thank you.
She did. He said, well, he asked you what your baby's name was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mason.
Mason.
for that quick bathroom break. We appreciate that. Any unfinished business, gentlemen, come before the group?
Not from me.
No, sir.
Nor do I. We'll move on to new business then. Any items that the board will vote on? The chair will allow public comment on those items prior to the BOCC vote. So the first item is discussion regarding the recycling program in Custer County. Ms. Jolly, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
I would defer to you, ma'am. You have the floor.
Well, thank you. I'm assuming that you're somewhat familiar with High Country Recycling.
I believe so, yes.
We've worked with the county before and actually wrote the grant and built the building out at the landfill, and actually got the grant for the baler as well as the building and the solar power and such out there, which really benefited us in being able to get the revenue to pay for Dennis Spreaker's salary. And so we've been working a good 15 plus years on getting a recycling program going in the Valley. And so when I found out that the Council of Governments had discontinued the services for recycling glass and paper and aluminum, I got on the phone pretty quickly and started calling the vendors that I was familiar with to see if we could get some type of recycling services back in place for those three resources or commodities. And I sent you all, I hope you were able to read it, a printout or an overview of what I've been able to find out since Friday, which isn't a lot of time to pull together much of a plan. I'm waiting to hear back from a couple of people and did find out some specifics from a couple of vendors. I'm hopeful that we can expand the services that Roots Recycling provides to the county now for plastic recycling. It would be the easiest, and there would be a fee. There's no more free recycling. There's no more free trash disposal. Hasn't been for years. So High Country Recycling is just offering our assistance and whatever we can do to get more recycling going back to the level it was in the Valley yesterday. And I don't know if you've talked to the landfill personnel manager, I forget his name.
Brian.
Yeah, great. I was gonna, anyway, I did talk to Dennis on Friday when he got the word, and he said, you know, I can drive it to Angela Chavano. I've already called Mickey. Mickey will take all of our recyclables, but we have nowhere to collect them now. We have no bins and we have no way to haul them. So finding a hauler is the crucial piece, because High Country Recycling could probably, through their resources, our resources, get a container or two.
So can I ask a quick question?
Oh, a penny. Yes.
Yeah, yesterday, I think it was, or I can't remember. I thought they were still trying to decide who owned the recycling bins. Didn't somebody figure that out, and they're not going to be around now?
Well, I can tell you that the county purchased the recycling bins out at the landfill. The town of Westcliff purchased the ones over by the fire station, and the town of Silvercliff purchased the ones over at the Dome.
Okay.
And then talking to the COG director, she said she emailed the three government entities and told them that when we pick up on Tuesday, which was yesterday, our last emptying of the bins, we would like to know where they want the bins just deposited. And now I don't know if she heard back from anyone. I assumed that that had been taken care of. That's, I've learned never to assume, and yet here I am. I don't know if they're still there and have not been moved again. The hauler for the special rig that picks up these kind of bins, the cog owns the truck, but the man driving the truck that knows the remotes and all the gears and stuff to lift them up and stuff, he's resigned. He's no longer working for the cog. I suppose they could contract with them to move those bins to wherever you want them located. Pretty much worthless.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I attended the COG meeting, and when the decision was made to discontinue recycling, it was a very difficult decision, but it really wasn't much choice for COG at that point. It was a program that had lost money ever since the inception, but that really wasn't the issue, because sometimes the cost of a process, the benefit outweighs the cost. So that wasn't really the issue why they bailed. They bailed because the company that transferred the recyclable material canceled with COG, and COG was unable to find an alternative to take over that duty. Some of the problem also is, and I'm sure many of the people who are into recycling recognize that a lot of the items that you recycle really do end up in the landfill, because the locations where, for example, plastic was going, China refuses to accept them now. So we really don't have the plants that are necessary in the United States to do the magnitude of the recycling that I think the people would really like. So very difficult. So what I would like to know is, I read your memo, and that's when I called you, or I sent you a note and said, please come on this meeting, because I thought you had some really good ideas or some suggestions on how we could in Custer County continue to recycle. I think it's the future and an absolute necessity for not only us, but the whole world to recycle. Where do we stand on, you gave us some alternatives. What specifically do we need to do? Where does the commissioners come into this? And what would you need from us if we voted to continue such a program?
Well, we would like your ear first to, be available to hear what, just like I shared this with you, what we're finding out, and to know if you support any options that we find viable. I've been listening to your budget dilemma, and that is something that will be, you were paying the COG, I think it was 79 cents per capita for everyone living in rural Custer County to cover their costs, which evidently didn't. But it might be something that would help out high country recycling and keeping costs low enough that people would continue to recycle and pay for it. They're going to have to pay for recycling. Whoever, just like plastic. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can I impose on you and the recycling group that you head up to come up with, to formulate a plan that you could present to the BOCC Here is what we recommend if the county decides to continue to recycle. And this does not, just to make it clear, this does not include cardboard. We are still recycling cardboard. We're still selling it when we can. We're just talking about those three commodities that you discussed earlier. But if you could come to us with a plan, including the costs, how it would get done, what the county would need to do to make it work, what kind of, you mentioned you need a trailer. Those are the kind of things, come to us with a plan, not just a problem. And I recognize we just found out this problem. I notified you immediately when I got out of the COG meeting because I knew how severely it was going to impact Custer County. So if your group could come up with some kind of plan that would maintain the recycling in Custer County, I would encourage you to come before the board and let's talk about it and see if we can come up with a solution.
Yeah, and that's exactly our intention. I mean, we would not go forward with anything without the support, not only of the county, but of the town of Westcliff and Silver Cliff. And so we will continue researching and seeing what's viable. And in the interim, unfortunately, I believe unless people choose to go to Salida or Pueblo or Canyon with their recyclables, we're going to start filling up the landfill, which is not something we want to do.
So I got a quick question on that, real quick. Given there's an interim period and people are used to driving out there and throwing their stuff in there, has Brian and the town areas have they closed the lids? Are they going to keep people from putting stuff in there? Because we can't do anything.
They have to.
They got to do something. So is anybody? Do we need to ask Brian to do that, or did you get an agreement from him? We got to talk to the town of Westcliff, Silver Cliff too.
Yeah, we have to talk to Silver Cliff and Westcliff too, because Brian only handles the one out at the landfill. And my understanding is that yesterday the openings were already covered with cardboard, because I got an email from a recycler saying, I was at the landfill, I couldn't recycle my stuff there. Why did I have to drive to town? What's going on?
Okay.
We're getting lots of emails. So.
Okay. And town of Westcliff too, Silver Cliff?
Westcliff and Silver Cliff, I will get hold of them, the trustees. There's on our advisory board is a trustee from Silver Cliff and Westcliff, and I will contact them as a member of the advisory board to do that.
Okay, the other thing, as Jay mentioned, you need to come back with a recommendation that we can consider and vote on. And it ought to also include, it sounds like the truck is who owns the truck and where is the truck? And the driver's gone, it's going to have to include the cost of operating and what we need to do. And if we have to move it, I don't know that Westcliff or Silver Cliff, I know we don't particularly need to move the ones at the landfill anywhere for now, but we may. So we need options from you when you come back.
Right. Well, that's it. The Council of Governments said that they would move the bins if you told them where to move the bins to.
Which bins are you speaking about, Joni?
The yellow ones that are by the fire station, the ones at the Dome parking lot, and the ones at the landfill. They're all ones that take paper and the aluminum cans and glass.
Well, certainly I believe the county can take care of the bins that the county owns. The others, I think that you're referring to would be the responsibility of the two towns.
Right.
So my initial sense is there's no reason to move the ones at the landfill. We may have to seal them off, but I don't think they need to be moved.
Brian, please put something over.
So, yeah, I'd say that message probably need to carry forward to the two towns. They can decide what they want to do with those bins since they own them. That's from my perspective anyway.
Well, it was my understanding that the director of the COG she told me on Monday in a phone conversation that she has contacted the county and the two towns about the bins.
Yeah, so I think the county needs to worry about the county bins and the towns need to worry about their bins. That's pretty simple from my mind.
So I was focused, I'm sorry.
With the high country obviously needs to be a county effort, including the towns.
Right.
We really can only focus on the county issues, but we certainly would be part of a discussion with the towns too.
Right. And so we will continue to find what appears to be the most viable, affordable, and maybe sustainable, not maybe, definitely sustainable
Right.
plan. And then my hope is that that could be presented to not only the county, but the two towns, and that everyone agrees to it so that we don't have separate systems.
Agree. We agree on that completely. Yeah, it needs to be a concerted effort between all three of us.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess my perspective on the big picture, it's been this way in Custer County for as long as I can remember. Recycling is a great idea. Nobody wants to fund it. It's certainly not a revenue generator to offset the incumbent expenses to go along with it. So nothing's changed as far as that goes. It is it's a money issue, number one. If the money was not a problem, I think the people in Custer County would respond significantly to recycling. But as it is now, I think you know as well as I do that it's just an ongoing issue of we want to do what's right, but nobody wants to pay for it.
Exactly.
So that's a good point. You said there was 79 cents per pound or whatever it was.
No, per capita, per person.
Per person, I mean. So that's being collected right now. And so.
Well, it was already paid. I believe that there's a contract that the county had every year. There was a contract submitted by the TOG and the county approved it.
Right. So where I'm going with it is there is some cost that already everybody's agreed to at one point, and that would continue. So that's sort of your baseline. Can you operate for that still? You come back with an option, or if not, what do you really need in order for the three entities, us and the two towns, to consider supporting going ahead with something? So, that's just the big picture. We've got to have that discussion and get people for or against it, and we'll try to develop a plan.
Right.
Joni, moving forward, if you want and feel the need to get back on an agenda for a future BOCC meeting, if you would just contact Kelly Camper and let her know that. She can get you put on an agenda when it's appropriate, and we can have a discussion with High Country Recycling and with two towns, whatever that looks like.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry we have to go through this.
It is what it is.
It'd be nice if we could look somebody in the face and blame them, right? I mean, I don't know who that would be. It's certainly not COG's fault because COG's responding to the circumstances that were dealt with them. So, and we're going to have to deal with the circumstances that are dealt with us. So we appreciate your time today. Thank you for your patience. Just reach out to us if you feel the need to be on another agenda.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we will move on. The next item of business is consideration of an affordable housing request for the RFP. Gentlemen, you've been provided that document. Get reorganized here just a little bit.
He is, he's on the Zoom call.
Yeah, Charles, you're on this morning.
I don't see.
He's the 719.
Oh, that's the number. Okay.
Mr. Bogle, are you on?
Unmute if you are.
He is muted. Do we have to unmute him?
No, I've done.
Here we go.
There we go.
He just
He should be
unmuted.
good now.
Good
Mr.
morning.
Bogle, can you hear us?
Can't hear you, Charles.
Okay, well, let's, hopefully he'll get connected here.
And we're unmuted over there, right?
What's the group's pleasure here? Do you want
I gotta look at what
to
we got.
discuss this? I think he sent it to us last week.
Yeah, I did. I can't get it up here.
I've read the document. I have not been attending their affordable housing meetings. This is not the final document. As you can see, there's some red lines about the dates and that kind of thing. But I think the general intent here, I don't have an issue with it.
I don't. You've been through them all, haven't you, Jay?
Yeah.
So you can tell us a little bit more.
Really not a whole lot to say. I think the document kind of stands for itself. I don't think we're in a position to make any decisions, to vote on anything. I think they're moving forward and, always to me, it seems like a snail's pace, but we're moving forward. And
So what did he want with this?
Well, the ask here is for the BOCC to authorize them just putting out this RFP.
And they need to update the date, he said, but whatever else.
Right.
That's all they wanted,
They
to
just
get the
wanted
RFP out. So
Right.
do we have to vote on it?
I think we should, because eventually it's going to entail a lot of documentation, money.
Is it gonna cost money if we put it out to manage the contractors, or money to do that?
They have a fund balance. I can't speak to what they're going to use it for, but obviously there's expense
But they can handle the bids anyway.
concerning getting the RFPs out.
Yeah.
So I would move that we go ahead and authorize the Affordable Housing Board to move forward with their RFP concerning property and so forth.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to authorize the RFP distributions for the Affordable Housing Board concerning the property in Silver Cliff. Any discussion about
You have
that?
any reason why they shouldn't, Jay?
no, this is absolutely a necessity and it needs to be approved in my personal opinion. So no, I think it's right, it's appropriate, and I think it's time to get this thing going.
Here's Mr. Bogle now. So,
Calling on that.
good morning, Charles.
Well,
I have you on the speaker. I have you on the speakerphone.
okay, well, I was trying to call in on your Zoom number and I couldn't get it off mute.
Okay, yeah. I know the host has unmuted, so if anybody was muted, it was on their end, unless something, went awry with the platform. So thank you for calling in. We appreciate that. The motion on the table is to authorize the Affordable Housing Board to move forward with this RFP. We understand there needs to be some dates inserted to get it in a timely condition to be submitted now after the approval if the vote passes. So would certainly welcome any comments from yourself or others from the board.
Only question I had, Charles, I dialed in, is timely. Why wasn't this submitted the 31st like it initially was set up?
We've been delayed with review and I guess you could use COVID, since we've been trying to have virtual meetings, it's been difficult to get a quorum plus the review, but Clint has reviewed it and from what I understand, finds no fault with it. So it's ready to, with adjustments of the dates, ready to publish. We have funds from the that are attributed to attainable housing from the Elmar fund that we use to purchase the property that we can cover the expenses for advertisement.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I was in the process of explaining when you actually called. So I've got a question for you, Charles. In the interest of time, I would ask that if you can be succinct in what the overall picture looks like here. You're going to put out an RFP for contractors to come in to build. Is that right?
We're looking at for contractors to buy the property.
Okay.
For building, And with the ground rules and with part of the evaluation for the ultimate sale will be their recommendations on how to maintain it as attainable, affordable housing for an extended period of time.
Okay, so your intent is to sell the property and let developers build, hopefully within the guidelines of what we think are affordable or workforce housing approach. Is that an accurate summary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If I can add that,
And
sorry.
and it'll be a closed bid, a minimum of $3,600 per lot. It'll be a closed bid, and then that way we will recover the monies that we use to purchase the properties, and with the intent and the expectation that with freeing up that money, then we can buy the additional 7 lots that are currently available, basically for the same price.
Okay. And is the general idea then one building per lot, or do you think these developers will want to combine lots, or what's your thought there?
We will be looking favorably and give preference to somebody that wants all of the lots and wants to develop the full, because it's most of a block. There's only, I think, 2 lots that are not part of this. So preference will be given to offers that will develop the whole property as a unit.
Just a quick question, Charles, on that. Is there zoning that would prohibit it to be a condo or kind of concept, or what did you tell the bidders, or what are they bidding against?
We're open, and so is the zoning of Silver Cliff, but preference will be, some mixed. But the town of Silver Cliff is willing to work with them as far as the development and to maximize the availability of attainable housing.
So, Charles, once you sell this property, you basically, with other than the terms of the sale, do you have a sense of how many, I don't want to call them residences because they may not be a resident, but how many units the county or how many units would be added to the inventory?
Actually, it should be a minimum of 12.
Okay, so you're really thinking it on this first 12 lots, you're kind of thinking there'd be a 1 unit per lot or a combination thereof.
Yeah, that's what I say. It could very well be more, and so it would exceed that expectation of a dozen.
Right.
But at the minimum, and again, we researched trying to put conditions on it, but with them we thought if we advertise broadly, we can get some different ideas that might be beyond what we would as far as the development. That's certainly what we're hoping.
Okay. Well, my point was we're not going to sell this property and then turn around and have 2 $400,000 retirement homes for somebody from out of state. Is that the intent, to not let that happen?
Certainly.
Okay.
And if you read the RFP in total, it definitely specifies that.
Right. And one of the reasons I'm asking these questions is because the public doesn't have the privilege of looking at this document. So I just want to bring some, I thought were important facts out and have a discussion about that. Commissioner Prince has a comment.
I was just going to say that the discussions that we've had to this point revolved around deed restrictions on what could be built, how quickly the properties could be turned, and that the requirements to make sure that they maintain the essence of what we're trying to do with affordable housing.
Right.
I didn't hear all you said, Commissioner, but there's definitely words in there, and we'll want details. And there may very well require, we didn't include this, but I wouldn't be surprised if potential buyers will request more information, and that will require probably a meeting of potential buyers specify details. And
Okay,
that certainly wouldn't be out of norm.
okay. And then just a question, as a matter of information, do you have a plan of where you're going to post these RFPs or this RFP? I'm sorry.
Yes, obviously we'll cover a number of the local and official newspapers and such, but we've also, in collaboration with the COG, got some vehicles or advertising vehicles that specifically focus on attainable housing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Further discussion or comments, questions, Mr. Bogle? Certainly, I don't think the price point should be a roadblock for anybody. That's probably as reasonable as anybody could hope to purchase a lot in Silver Cliff.
As it's indicated in the RFP, it's we specify, I haven't got it here in front of me, but we specify the normal range of price, and we indicated that minimum bids will be 3,600, and there'll be closed bids towards the competition as part of the selection.
And do those bids get returned to the Affordable Housing Board or to the attorney, or how are you going to handle that?
I'm the designated point of contact within the Attainable Housing Board.
Okay, all right, very good. Other questions, gentlemen? Anything else, Mr. Bogle, for?
I would assume there's a point of contact in the county that I'll need to work with to coordinate, since this will be a countywide or county official offering, to coordinate that and cover the costs. So.
You have a volunteer for that?
Jay?
Commissioner Prince has volunteered to be that person.
Thank you.
You betcha, sir. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote on authorizing the release of the RFP for the Silver Cliff property through the Affordable Housing Board. All in favor say, I'm sorry, I need to go back and ask for public comment. That's my mistake. Does anybody care to make public comment on this item before we vote? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of authorizing the RFP, say aye. Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Sir, thank you for your committee's or your board's work. We appreciate it, and hopefully we will move forward and address this issue.
Well, I'll keep you informed, and thank you for the positive vote.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for calling in too, Charles.
You bet.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get out of that. Any other additional items to come before the board before we go into executive session?
I have none, sir.
Commissioner Candace?
None.
Nor do I, so. Bear with me, please. In the effort of simplifying things, gentlemen, I don't mean to step on you, but I'm willing to make a motion to go into executive session and cite the statutes. That's fair enough.
Sure.
I would move that the OCC move into an executive session for a conference with the county attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice under Colorado Revised Statute Section 24-6, 402, sub B, sub 4, sub B.
I'll take it.
It's been moved and seconded to move into executive session according to the statute cited. All in favor say aye. Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Candace?
Aye.
Mr. Flower votes aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So the BOCC meeting is in recess. And we will start executive session as soon as we get our technology lined out. This is an executive session for the purpose of obtaining legal advice and counsel. This executive session will not be recorded. Carrie, before we do that, so should I read into the record while are we still recording?
Yes.
Read into the record who is going to be in the executive session, and then we'll turn off the recording.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It is October the 7th, 2020, and the time is 11:25 a.m. For the record, I am the chairman of the BOCC. As required by the open meeting law, this executive session is not being recorded due to the nature of the executive session. Also present at this executive session are Commissioners Kanda and Prince, Deputy Clerk to the Board / BOCC Administrative Assistant Kara Evans, and Attorney Clint Smith. So we'll give Mr. Vernon an opportunity here to get us undone, and then I think he will be excused. So we'll take just a brief moment, but let me finish reading this. Are we still recording?
Yes.
Okay. So this is an executive session for the following purpose, that is to obtain legal advice and counsel from the county attorney. I caution each participant to confine all the discussion to the stated purpose of the executive session, and that no formal action may occur in the executive session. If at any point in the executive session, any participant believes the discussion is going outside the proper scope of the executive session, please interrupt the discussion and state your objection. All right, sir, if you would. Yes, ma'am.
I record this on Kelly's computer though, correct?
Not this portion of it, so
No.
you'll have to
Okay.
stop that recording,
Okay.
and then Vernon, when you let us know.
I'm ending the meeting for all. When we
Yeah.
reconvene, I will reinitiate the live stream.
Yeah,